Level Less, a learning-based coaching company that partners with parents to empower teens to create a strategy for succeeding in life. Are you overwhelmed or feel stuck when your teen is undecided about selecting a career path? Our college and career program provides assessments, individualized coaching, and workshops to help teens identify their unique purpose and select a profession that complements their strengths. Call us. Well, I sure hope you wrote those platinum nuggets that Valanda Calloway, the TV lady, gave us. I'm going to be asking for them. You just never know. So make sure that you let me know where you're chiming in from so that we can call your name out. So what we're going to do now, we're going to transition to our next guest, Nancy. Oh my gracious. What do I say about Nancy? I have been knowing Nancy for over 20 some years. You know, one of the things about Maxine is that I believe in building relationships. I have this workshop called Make Every Connection Count. So I have tonight with us Nancy Appleman Vassell, and she is the connecting expert. So she's going to talk to us. How do you connect? How do you show up on stage? How do you show up in your job? How do you show up in every day? We just heard from Valanda on how to present ourselves. How do we look at all times? Now, Nancy's going to talk to us about how to connect. So Nancy, she's a certified speaking professional. I mean, she has her own business. She focuses on coaching and developing managers and building high-performing teams. And that's where I met her at an organization where she came in as a trainer to deliver some training to our managers. So let's bring on Nancy, who is the CEO of APLS Groups, a firm that specializes in facilitating individuals, groups, organizations toward better solutions for increased effectiveness. Come on down, Nancy.
Hello, Maxine. It's so wonderful to be here with you. It's so wonderful. And I actually took down platinum nuggets from your previous guest as well.
Excellent, excellent. So listen, you know, I always start about what do you remember about us meeting for the first time? Give me a little bit of background and even talk about the strategies that you helped me put in place then.
So what I remember is that I had met a colleague and a soulmate, and that I felt so comfortable watching you in front of the room and joining me in front of the room, and that as a team, we really were helping those folks in your organization navigate through what was happening in the organization at that time. And then I remember you inviting me to go somewhere for lunch, and we drove in your car and we went for lunch, and we just talked and talked and talked and talked. And I said, this is more than a one and done. This is a relationship that I'm looking to nurture and continue. And we've done that through the years, even though our paths have somewhat deviated, but we're both CEOs of organizations and doing things that are in the thing that I think we both love, which is about helping people be the best that they can be, understand how their behavior influences their ability to be effective.
You are so right. And transitioning right into their abilities to be effective. So tell us a little bit about how you got started in the speaking. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, she's on the national and international stages. We're not just talking about local here in Raleigh. So tell us, how did you transition into that phase of life? What strategies did you use there?
Right. So I know that your previous guest, Valanda, talked about having mentors and coaches, and very similar in this. I was very involved in the ATD, Association for Talent Development. I was on some national committees as a coach. And one of my colleagues and I, Christy Ward, became very good friends. And she used to whisper in my ear, you really need to go for your CSP. I was like, what is a CSP? Certified Speaking Professional. There's only about 11% of the population of speakers that have that. You have so much experience. And so I learned about this place called NSA, National Speakers Association, and got involved and went to the local meetings and went to the national meetings and then just started networking, because as you talked about, this whole notion of connection, right? It's about the human connection. And I've had the opportunity to go to lots of different places around the world, which has been really, really exciting. And getting people to have that aha, you call it the platinum nuggets, I call it the knowledge nuggets that they can then apply to their everyday existence and be able to apply it immediately, which is real important. Real
I love
important.
the fact that you say apply immediately because, as I
Mm-hmm.
indicated the last time,
Yes.
right, learning has not taken place until you can apply it. You can put it in place. You can
Mm-hmm.
apply it to what it means to you. The
Mm-hmm.
implementation is what's critical. So, talk to me a little bit about this human connecting.
Yes. So I've been doing a lot of thinking about it for probably about 10 years. That, I'm all about about connecting with humans. It's really no matter what my place is in life, what my title is, how a big family or a small family or whatever, that what really gets us to the next level or to allows us to move forward is that feeling of being connected and loved and belonging and inclusive. And that, that's all that's going on. And so for me, I was always interested in people. I was always interested. My mother and I was 4 years old, and we would sit in a restaurant and we would look around the table. This was before cell phones were around and people weren't, in those days, were actually talking to each other. And my mother would say, well, what thing's going on over there? And we would start to talk about the behavior of the person, what their body language was doing. And fast forward in high school, psychology was the thing I wanted to do. I worked in the guidance counselor's office. I went for my master's in counseling. I use counseling and coaching on a day-to-day basis because I'm looking at human behavior. And
Mhm.
I always knew that the person that I would end up with in life as my partner would be somebody who would have that same connection, that same feeling about people. And
Mhm.
I was fortunate to meet, my spouse, who we're almost on 43 years now, which is hard to believe. Yeah. It's a work in progress, Maxine. So
They all are. No matter how
absolutely.
many years, right? All right.
That's
We got
right. That's
Paulette
right.
Austin that's chiming in. Well, hello, Paulette. Thank you for joining us this evening. Be sure to
Mhm.
drop any questions that you have in the
Yep.
comment, and then that way we'll
Yep.
be able to see them. So,
Yep.
all right. So, look like our producer was talking about his mom was the first
Hmm.
job, the guidance counselor. So he has
Counselor.
some.
Yep.
Right. Okay, that's
Yes.
awesome, Mark.
Hmm. Yep.
That's our producer, Mark, our producer. So
Yes.
Nancy, with having been on this national and international platform, and you come in
Hmm.
contact with all these leaders, what are some of the strategies that you give leaders when you're talking about making that human connection? Because they have so many employees that report to them, or if they're a CEO or the president, you got the downline. So talk to me a little bit about that aspect
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll say again that we're all human beings first, right? So it's
Right,
like so the work is going to get done regardless. It's what's the experience that people are having, and that's what I talk to leaders about. You have a problem, and I know that you're grappling with that problem and you're looking to solve that problem as quickly as you can, but you
right,
really have to pay attention to the people that you touch, that you influence, and how you behave has a huge impact in terms of how they're going to go about completing the work, or whether they're going to stay with you or not, whether they're
mm,
already surfing for another job or they're surfing for a different department because they find you difficult to work with. So we
right,
work a lot with what's the behavior? What are you doing? And what's the feedback that you get and how you can turn that around in a pretty easy way. And universally, doesn't matter where you are in the world, doesn't matter what
right,
language you speak.
right.
It really is about how do we make that connection And
Mhm.
how do we touch in a way that makes sense, and that I feel that in some way.
Yeah, and I like the fact that you say that make that connection because even in the workshop that I do is make every connection count. And one of the
Yes.
things is like what's is not what's in it for me is how can I help you? You know, you have
Right.
to reverse it.
Right.
You have to have that reverse
Mhm.
mindset. And even
Mhm.
with leaders, many times there could be blind spots that leaders have that they might not even be aware of. So one of the
Yes.
assessments that I do is assess leaders. And I know you do assessments too. And in that assessment, it helps them to understand what's your everyday ability and strength
Yeah.
that you use that's going to
Yes.
influence your team. And if you don't
Mhm.
understand who you are from your core, you're missing some vital information because you do not know how it's impacting your team.
Yes. Yes. And
Yes.
the other thing I think of, because I do Pilates, is if your core isn't strong, you
Mm-hmm.
can't really move, right? You can't move at all. And I think that assessments are such a valuable tool because it resonates with people. Unless they're completely in denial and they say, well, this isn't me. This must, I just wasn't answering the questions in the right way, which is not. Of course, we are who we are. And it's
You're right.
fascinating to me because that's something you and I have um, talked about through the years, is that whole notion of assessing people during various times in their life and what's going on in their life. And yes, there can be some schmirgling of that, so to speak, but that really we are who we are, even at the early age of 4 or 5. We really start to demonstrate that behavior. And so then how does that play out when I'm in middle school? How does that play out when I'm in high school?
Right.
How do I, and it's the work that you do, I think, is so beautiful because it really is helping kids before they're adults to figure it out, right? Because how many adults, when they're in their 40s and 50s, are trying to figure out, what's my life about? What's my purpose? What's my passion
Yes.
as
Yes.
well? Um, I loved what Valanda said in your earlier piece, where she says, you're never alone. There's some kind of introduction, and how
Right.
fortunate it is when people are introduced to you and you're able to
Oh, thank
share
you.
that wisdom and that energy, because that's what people need. They need that positive thinking, that positive forward thinking, which is so important, which is, I think, something you and I share. Because
Yes.
what differentiates me as a speaker, as differentiates me as a facilitator or a trainer, is that I love what I do.
I
I
love it
don't feel
too.
like I work a day of my right. And you and I talked about this. I don't feel like I work a day of my life, although my throat is sounding like I've been talking too much today. But
You've been speaking and doing workshops right before coming here today.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. It's all good.
the
It's
thing
all
about
good.
what you're saying as far as assessing and individuals going through it, and they said, "Well, I answered the question, but I might." And sometimes it depends if it's a Q&A question assessment.
Yes.
They try to figure out what does the assessment want me to say, so they're not really being true to who they are. And when you get the
Exactly.
results, you're not really getting the results of who you are. You're getting the results of who
Mhm.
you pretended to be when you took the
Yes.
assessment.
Yes.
So one thing
Yes.
about the ability assessment that I I love the fact the one that I deliver is the fact that they can't guess what the system wants you to say because it's all
That's
computerized
right.
and it's all hands on, it's all interaction, it's using your mind, it's
Yeah.
being using
Yeah.
imagination and all of that.
Yeah.
And but I love also the fact that you said it's different phases in life and different stages in
Yes.
life.
Yeah.
Because as a youth,
Yes.
you have certain things. You daredevil. You a daredevil.
Mhm.
You
That's
try
right.
anything
That's
because
right.
you don't
That's
even know
right.
you're gonna get hurt. But then you get to 14 and 15, and then it's like you feel like you're coming into your own and you know it all, and
Mhm.
your parents know
Yeah.
nothing. And then
That's
you get
right.
that
That's right.
20 and 30s, it's like, oh, wait a minute, I need to start making some decisions. Then you get to 40s and 50s, like, wait a minute, it's time for me to start retiring, and I have no money to retire. And then you get to 60s, and now you really need to retire, or going into the
Yeah.
70s to retire. And like, how am I going to live if I retire? But then they
There you
forget
go.
what decisions did you make? What goals did you make? What strategies did you
Right.
put in place?
That's right.
And so
That's
I
right.
love the fact that we help people put in strategies in place as early as possible in life so
Yes.
they can be
Yes.
successful. They can
Yes.
move through these, navigate. I love you the word navigate life, navigate the journey of life and be successful along the
Yeah.
way. And you don't
Yeah.
have to be alone. You have Nancy and I out here.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah, and the other thing that I think about is that as adults in the workplace, that we really are a product of our experiences. And so
Yes.
if we haven't had a good boss previously, or if we left a company or we were laid off from a company and we feel like our world is over because, what did I do? And of course, it's nothing about what you do. It's about the fact that the company makes the decision that they make. But then you walk into this new environment and you're trying to feel your way around and you're not 100% sure, or you feel like you're supposed to be a certain way because that's what your manager's doing. And maybe your manager's not doing it the best way possible. So it's how do you become your own person, which is
Yeah.
the keynote that and the workshop. It's a 1 hour workshop that I've been doing through different organizations. It's called You're on the Workplace Stage. What's your song and dance? Because Maxine, I love to sing. I love to dance whenever possible. That's in fact,
I love it,
my,
kids.
I
Yeah.
know, I know. And my 3-year-old grandson is into music now. So we just we stand in the kitchen and we start dancing together. I tried to teach him the electric slide last night. My son was laughing. He said, "Ma, really? You're going to try to teach him that?" And I'm like, give me some time. Give me some
Give
time.
him the rhythm. Give him the rhythm if
Right,
nothing
give them the
else.
rhythm. Right, exactly. That's right. The beat. And
The beat.
so when I think about from a organizational perspective, it's like, how are you showing up? What's the song? What's the dance you're doing?
That's
Are
right.
you doing the old dances like the jerk or the swim or are you doing the cha-cha slide? I mean, what are you doing? And then, and then with the song, is it a brand new day and you're going to make it the best day possible? Or are you all about people? Like what is it? And so we do some stuff with that. But then it's also, how do you show up? It's really,
Yeah.
how do you show up? What's the kind of house that you're building? Your brand. I loved what Belinda said about, color and impression. And I love color, obviously.
Mhm.
I'm multicolored today. And but I believe in that vibrancy and I believe in that, how are you showing up? But it's also, what's your behavior? What are those actions? What are those things that you do that either help or hinder your ability to influence? How strong is your foundation? Is your flooring? Unfortunately, we've had this horrible thing happen over the weekend with the tornadoes, and then we
Right.
had a shooting today in Tennessee, but that's a whole nother story. But it's like,
Right.
what's the house you're building? What's the brand you're building? What about the
Yeah.
walls? The windows, will they withstand the weather? And the weather is you being in a great mood or not being in a great mood, or being, high on life in a very natural way, or are you down in the dumps because so many things have happened, you can't seem to get yourself out? So what's the house you're building? Because your house is your reputation. Your house is your safe place. Your house is your, I call it the crib, the slang for my home. Come on into my home. If I like you, that's where I'm going to put you. So I just, we get a lot of people getting ahas because they realize that, oh yeah, I have been acting this way, or I have been saying this. And as a result of that, I'm not as effective as I need to be.
When you bring out those points that you just brought out about, right, how effective you can be, and what have you done? COVID forced us,
Yes. Yes.
whether we wanted to or not, but it forced us to reevaluate our lives. It
Yes.
forced us to
Yes.
reevaluate on the work environment in which we want to work in. It forced
Yes.
us to say, do we still want to be in that leadership role, or do we want to be an
Mm-hmm.
individual contributor? So it
Mm-hmm.
caused us to reevaluate the effectiveness of our own lives. And how do we
Yes.
put that
Yes.
into our own hands? Because
Mm-hmm.
one of another workshop that I do is called Be the CEO of You.
Mm. Mm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
we allow CEOs of organizations, but
Mm-hmm.
we are a business and we
Mm-hmm.
are the president
Absolutely.
of us. And so
Yes.
levelness is a part of all of that to help people. If you remove the levels, but you define what success looks like for you, not what it looks
Yep.
like for someone else, then you
Yep.
can build a strategy around that you see for yourself. And if you start executing and implementing and you reach those goals and achieve them, then you are successful. So you have to
Absolutely.
have that mindset shift,
Yes.
and that mindset shift can stay with you, and you stop letting other people dictate to you who you are, what you're going to be, what you're going to do, how much you're going to make, and all of that.
Absolutely.
But you take
Absolutely.
control. And that's where that
Yeah.
CEO comes in at. So I
Yeah.
love the fact that when you teach and you do workshops, as you're talking about from a leader perspective. But ladies and gentlemen, get this nugget. You do not have to have a title of a leader to be a leader.
There you go. There you go. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes. Yeah. And Rome wasn't built in a day.
Thank
And
you.
so figuring it out, it's a step-by-step process. I like to use the analogy of American football because, my son's a football coach and so forth. So, but I think about like every coach wants to win the game to get to win enough games to get to the, playoffs, to get to the coveted, of the Super Bowl.
Right,
But you have to get that first 10 yards. And you have to get the next 10 yards and the next 10 yards in order to get that touchdown or that field goal. And so we as human beings, we have this tendency not to celebrate those those steps along the way. We feel like we just have to go completely to the end, and that we don't reward ourselves. We don't say, you know, here's why it was a good job. Here's why you did well. Not just good job, because that's what, like, unfortunately is done a lot in the workplace,
right,
and we don't give people information at all. And I think that, as I have watched people and continue to watch people, we work with, I don't even know how many people we've worked with. I've been in business for 22 and a half years, but I would say that we run probably 130 to 140 workshops a year. And, with probably anywhere from 10 to 25 people in each one. So we can do the math at some point in time.
right.
But there's a commonality. There's a commonality across all of it, which is we're human beings.
That's
And
right.
you mentioned earlier about, that awareness factor, those blind spots, right? Well, the
Right.
tagline for Nancy Appleman Fassel.com for the speaking part of the business is building awareness by uncovering blind spots.
That's it.
Because people, right? People walk around for the most part unaware of their behavior and the impact that it has on people.
That's right.
Somebody
That's right.
takes the time to say, right?
That's right. And those
Yeah.
blind spots are so critical. The Jehovah's window, we already know about that because
Yes.
it helps to bring out those blind spots. But
Yes.
also, assessments helps you to bring out blind spots as well. Because that's why
Absolutely.
you have to reveal them. They have to, be brought to the surface so that you can now face
Hmm.
them and not hide
Yep.
behind them. And so
Yep.
that's another way of understanding what your blind spots are. And then we're individuals. Sometimes we have to just listen to each other and don't be afraid to share because use what they say, constructive criticism. It does not have to be destructive. It can be
Okay.
constructive, and give them the positives, but also give them some areas in which if we are challenged, and let us know what those areas are. Don't
Yes.
say yes
Yeah.
to everything. We don't need a yes
Hmm.
person when there are things that we need to be changing about ourselves. And I'm gonna tell this
Yes.
one question, this story really, really quickly. I was promoted to a newly fresh manager at a telecommunications company in Ohio, in Illinois. And this one manager would be observing me, and I didn't know she was observing me. So one day she said, "Can I talk to you in my office?" I said, "Yeah." So she brought me in there. She said, "Maxine," she said, "you're an excellent manager, and you're going to be even phenomenal." She said, "But there's one thing about you." I said, "What?" She said, "You have to stop and think before you say what you're going to say, because there's always a different way and a different approach. But if you don't ever stop to
Mhm.
think about how is this going to make that person feel, then
Perfect.
you'll know if you should proceed to say it or not." That was the
Yeah.
best advice she could have given
Yeah.
me because
Hmm.
it forced
Hmm.
me to stop. Even now, I'll
Hmm.
do it. Am I going to say it
Hmm.
that way? Do I write it that way? Let me take 2 hours. Let me come back and visit it again before I send that email,
That's
or
right.
before I have a conversation to make that telephone call. And that's just
Hmm.
human nature. We need to do it, but even more so
Yeah.
as a leader,
Yeah.
even
And
more
and
so.
what's Yeah. And what's profound about that is that happened early on in your career, and you still got it. And I had one early on in my professional career as well, where my manager said to me, "You're not being congruent." And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Your head is saying yes, but your body language is saying no." She said,
Ooh,
"So congruency." And I have always, that's I got 40 years ago or so. And I'm thinking to
mhm.
myself, I still remember it. And I use it as well with other people where I see that happening because
That's good.
I want to give that gift back to
That's
somebody
good.
else who, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I love
So,
that, give that gift back, pay it forward. And that's what we
hmm
all need to be. We don't need to be alone. There's no reason to be alone
yes.
out here in this world. You have other people who are willing to support you, to mentor you, to coach you,
Yep.
but they
Yep.
don't know it if you don't ask for help. They
Right.
won't know it
Right.
unless you ask for help.
Yeah. And that is a platinum nugget as well, because asking for help, as you know, is a it's strength, but yet
Yeah,
it's conveyed as its weakness, and it's not. If I
that's
know
right.
what my strengths are and I know what is not my strength, then I'm much better at being able to do things than if I'm not aware of it and I think I can do it and continue to do it, and it's really not what I do well.
And as leaders and even as individuals, we can be doing something incorrectly,
Hmm.
and then we think it's correct
Absolutely.
because we've been
Yep.
doing it that way for so long, it becomes a habit.
Hmm.
And then when
Hmm.
someone corrects us and realize that it was been done improperly, you're like, no, I'm not. And like, well, yes, you are. The protocol says this, and you've been doing it this way. I've been doing it
That's
this way for
right.
years. We know, but
That's
you've been
right.
doing it wrong for years.
That's
So,
right. That's right.
as leaders, don't allow or don't even say to your employees, or employees don't even say to yourself, I've been doing this way for years. Well, it doesn't mean it's right just because you've been doing it that way for years. Be open enough to listen and to hear what the
Absolutely.
next person has to say, because it
Absolutely.
is a minor modification that needs to be done.
Right.
Doesn't mean
Right.
everything was incorrectly about it.
Right.
Well, Nancy, this has
Exactly.
been truly, truly awesome. So tell me what you got coming up. What's happening? You got a workshops you're getting ready to announce or have announced. We have your website on the screen.
Yep.
So
Yeah. So I'm speaking at the ATD International Conference on a panel about women as entrepreneurs. Kind of what's your
okay.
life journey been? I'm speaking at the International SHRM Conference in Las Vegas, and it's so ironic because the name of the title of it is called "You're the CEO of Your Career." So I think I need to talk to you because we made up that title and well, made it up, but in a
Right.
positive way, and said this is great because having been in career counseling, which is where we first met in terms of just some of the uh, services that DBM, which is now Lee Hecht Harrison,
Right.
support. So, being a counselor, et cetera, so forth. So it's all about, it's standing up. I'm going to use some of the stuff that Valanda talked about and some of the stuff I'm going to be talking to you about, and that's what's going on. So you see two websites on down there. One is aplsgroup.com. That shows all the different products and programs that we offer. I am willing to do a little special, which is that giving folks actually a week to come to the website. And if there is a workshop that they would like us to bring into their organization, we will do a 20% discount off the price. And then the NancyApplemanVassal.com is the speaking website. So if you're interested in bringing me in to do some speaking, or you've got an event of some sort, would love to. We've got some topics there that I've been working a lot with, including You're on the Workplace Stage, What's Your Song and Dance?
Excellent, excellent. I can't wait to see you do that in person because I can see us on the stage singing and dancing. I know you're gonna have a
That's
song for
right.
us.
That's exactly, exactly what's happening. You know exactly what's happening. And I break out into song. I just did a workshop last Thursday and Friday. And in the comments, the person said, I loved how you broke out into song at different moments. Because
Yeah, that's
somebody would say something, and in my head, it was like, oh, that's a lyric to a song. Let's just start to break out and sing it.
And not only that, it's captivating and participating, the people
Yes.
participate in it.
Yes.
So give us
Which
one
you know.
last nugget that you'd like to leave the audience with as we close.
Yes. So I would say, don't be afraid to be different. Don't be afraid to be you.
All
Go
right.
for it. Mm-hmm.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here from the human connecting expert, Ms. Nancy Appleman Vassell. All right. So listen, I know you've enjoyed this evening like I have, but time has it. Paulette Austin don't have. Oh, I didn't just get. Don't have a title. Oh, to be a leader. A leader is a leader. You don't necessarily have to have a title. That is
That's
correct,
right.
Paulette. But as
Everyone's
we
a
close,
leader.
everyone is a leader. You can always reach
Mhm.
me at levelisco.com. But next week we have our former football player, Marcus Ogden from the
Nice.
Tennessee Titan, is going to be here speaking with us and talk about some great platinum nuggets. So come back and join us. Same time, same station. And remember, I believe in you and I trust you believe in yourself. Have a great evening.
Bye-bye. Thank you.